McGraw-Hill Ascent Audio presents The Lost Art of Connecting, the Gather, Ask, Do method for building meaningful business relationships by Susan Mcpherson with Jackie Ashton. Narrated by Susan Mcpherson. To my mom, Beryl, who was taken from this earth far too early, but instilled in me the goodness, strength, hope, and pragmatism that propelled me into living a life filled with meaningful relationships and the pure joy of connecting others. Introduction. Connection is my superpower. It has always come as naturally to me as breathing. I've been called the serial connector, a human customer relationship management app, and I've spent the last 30 years of my career building relationships that are deep and expansive, spanning decades, even continents. People often ask me, how do you build relationships so easily? Well, connecting, as I've come to understand it, comes down to one simple question. How can I help? Asking this question in any meeting, any introduction, any moment, immediately narrows my focus on how I can be of service and support to others. And isn't that what makes relationships feel meaningful? Every single person is an introduction to something else. Another person, a unique skill, a new project, or something you inevitably will learn about yourself. It should never be about, what will I get from this person? But instead, what can I learn? What can I discover? Or, who could I connect this person with? I've always enjoyed threading people together to create something bigger and unknown, the way small children do with those little black circles in dot-to-dot drawings, never certain what the larger picture will be until the final connections are filled in. This method has led me to a career with deep fulfillment and enjoyment. It's connected me to people from all walks of life. It's taken me around the world, given me seats on boards, and introduced me to a lifetime of relationships, experiences, and right here to you. Now you and I are connected too. Don't wait until you need a favor to do one for someone else, my father used to say. Most often he said it from our breakfast table over eggs and coffee, where my two older siblings and I would vie for elbow room as our parents spent hours poring over as many as 6 different print newspapers. I grew up in upstate New York, a town 20 minutes north of Albany to be exact, where my parents would start each day at a small wooden kitchen table in our 1,200-square-foot home, among scattered open pages from day-old copies of the New York Times, the Schenectady Gazette, the Albany Times-Union, the Troy Record, the local Jewish paper, and the Boston Globe. My parents were first generation born in the United States. Their parents came from the old country, specifically Ukraine and Hungary. My mother was an ambitious housewife who managed to do all the things expected of a wife and a mother at the time and maintain a vibrant and purposeful life outside the home as a broadcast public relations maven. She would cut out snippets of interesting stories to send to colleagues, family members, or friends, sometimes with a long letter attached. My father, a professor of Russian history at Russell Sage College, would do the same thing for his students and former students, department members, and other connections, sometimes with a short note that said, "Thinking of you," always written with his manual typewriter. His letters were legendary. Their recipients often spanned multiple generations of women he'd taught in one family. I can still smell the scent of the ink ribbon, hear the click-clack of his typing, the ping just before the carriage reached the end of the page. I can hear the slap of my mother's hand atop her stack of addressed envelopes as she patted them, ready to send off that day's batch of greetings. And off they would go. My parents' way of connecting was indeed an art, one that not only brought them personal joy, but also career fulfillment, success, and satisfaction. I watched and I learned. What is a meaningful business relationship? What makes a relationship meaningful? Many, if not most people, expect to develop meaningful relationships in love, in family, and in friendship. But in business? Aren't you supposed to be tough as nails, even cutthroat? What does a meaningful relationship in business even look like? Well, for starters, I've long taken the approach that work Susan and after work Susan are one and the same person. I've never seen work and life as separate. No doubt because of the way I was raised. A relationship is a relationship, whether it's built through business conducted across the boardroom table or over a meal shared at my kitchen table. But what makes relationships meaningful? For me, the most meaningful relationships are those I've built over the years through my work supporting women, lifting up the voices of those without power, and making the world a better place, using business, community, and investing as a force for positive change in the world. In the sections that follow, I reveal insights I've learned, not only from my own art of connecting, but also those I've gleaned through relationships and interviews with dozens of community builders, movement starters, and entrepreneurs, as well as psychologists, researchers, and activists. The common thread we all agree on is that to even begin to figure out how to go about building meaningful relationships with others, you first need to figure out that all too important relationship with yourself. What's important to you? What does meaningful even mean to you? Have you ever even stopped to think about it? What is meaningful to you may be different than what's meaningful to me or what's meaningful to someone else. And that's perfectly fine. Authenticity has become so much of a buzzword that it borders on meaningless these days. But to build meaningful relationships, you don't need to connect with 8 billion people on this planet. In fact, you shouldn't. What I hope to share within this book is, first, how to define what meaningful means to you. Second, how to seek others who not only share your values and your vision, but also those who challenge you, expose your blind spots, and broaden the diversity and breadth of your network. And third, of course, how to make those relationships deep and rewarding. And that is the art of connecting. But first, I ask you to define what makes a relationship meaningful to you. Take a sheet of paper and write down that answer. Then add your response to this. What are the top 3 most meaningful business relationships you have had in your life, and what made them so? Your answers here are important as they will guide you toward your constellation. What most people get wrong about business relationships. Business relationships often get a bad reputation for being too transactional, and for good reason. To most people, a new LinkedIn contact or a coveted introduction sounds off an internal monologue. What can this person do for me? And that is why I was motivated to write this book. I see so many people today going about connecting all wrong. Most people are so busy working for people that they fail to work with them, developing positive relationships through 1,000 small touch points. They are adding more and more contacts, attending a zillion events, slogging through endless Zoom calls, and wondering why they feel depleted and lonely at the end of a long day. But in my eyes, people don't stand alone. They aren't a small, isolated dot, but are instead an instrumental piece in something much more extensive, a part of a grander vision. People do business with people, and when you make a genuine connection, it sparks learning and knowledge sharing, reduces burnout, spurs innovation, and creates a sense of purpose and well-being, too. I love facilitating introductions and bringing people together in a myriad of ways. But I'm the exception, not the norm. Most people today feel disconnected. Between the years 1985 and 2009, the average American's social network shrank, meaning their number of close confidants declined by up to 1/3. This is true for both the young and the old. We're living in a loneliness epidemic that is causing declines in physical and mental health, as well as decreased work satisfaction and performance. Now, on top of that, as I write in this book, the world is in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic that has forced people to self-isolate and physically stay apart. It's clear that the art of connecting is indeed lost. We're talking, Zooming, tweeting, and texting, but we're not feeling a sense of connection. People have lost their sense of belonging and purpose in their careers and their lives. Why? Because we've come to lean too hard on our digital lives. Virtual connections are not the end. They are the means to an end. An authentic relationship with depth, be it professional or personal. And that is what this book is all about. How to build that all-elusive depth. Now for the next question. What is missing in your business relationships today? In other words, why did you buy this book? Write your answer down underneath your answers from earlier. Now you are starting to home in on what will best serve you in each of the gather, ask, do phases of my method. Start with the I in how can I help. Any meaningful relationship starts with you, your vulnerable, real self. And therein lies the reason depth escapes us. We have to be flawed. We have to be real. We have to be human. What we want to be is perfect, successful, flawless, especially at work. But that doesn't inspire real connection. But before we even get there, to that scary, real, vulnerable place, start with what you need. Who do you need around you to be your best? What are your unique values and strengths? What are the most urgent and pressing problems of the world? And how can you, and only you, make your unique contribution to solve them? The answers to these questions will point you toward who you want to be connected with to best fulfill your career and life's purpose. And when you find that, magic can transpire. Once you get good at building meaningful connections, you can facilitate them for others as well, amplifying the effect. The truth is that whether or not a connection is meaningful honestly has very little to do with the other person. Feeling lonely, isolated, or disconnected is an inside job. How connected you feel is determined by the meaning that you ascribe to that relationship. It's subjective. How do I feel about this relationship? You can be in a crowd full of 200 people and feel abysmally lonely. Or you can be seated at a dinner table with your closest confidant and feel that way too. Or you can be curled up on the sofa with only your rescue pup. I am with my partner in crime, Phoebe, as I write these words, and feel deeply connected. The difference between feeling alone and happy versus alone and lonely comes down to expectations. When you desire solitude, being alone feels wonderful. But when you are alone and wish to be with others, or when you are with others whom you don't feel comfortable, loneliness can arise. Connection is determined by how it feels to you. In this book, I will share the tips and tricks I've learned over my long and fruitful career connecting with thousands, facilitating connections between others, and watching others do so too. My mother used to always tell me, meet boys so you can meet their friends. And the same is true in business. You should meet people so you can meet the people they know and admire. But I like to take my mother's advice one step further, asking not who you want to meet, but who do you need to meet? Who are the people who will best complement your strengths and help you be your best self? Who are the people who could most benefit from your assets and knowledge? What exposure to people of different racial, gender, and other backgrounds do you lack? Where do you need to be pushed outside of your comfort zone? And the best way I have found to find and build these relationships always comes back to that one key question: how can I help? A new approach to building meaningful connections. When I talk about how to build meaningful connections, I use the illustration of a constellation. There are 250 billion stars in the galaxy. Not all of them align in just the right way to make that special sight that is a constellation. And like networking, you never just know how you are connected to another person until you put in the work to see the patterns. I've broken down my method for creating your personal network of stars, for creating magic in relationships by asking, how can I help? I call it the Gather, Ask, Do method. This method will not only help you create your constellation, but it will give you the tools to help others create constellations too, and many of them. And that is perhaps the most rewarding aspect of this method. Not only the deeply nourishing relationships that you will develop, but also the ripple effect of connecting others, the brightly lit constellations that you will see among others. In the gather stage, you will learn how to better connect with yourself, defining your business values and goals, and determine how you can help, and who would help you grow. In the ask phase, you will continue to ask, how can I help, as well as deepening your relationships by asking more and more questions, building the depth of your connections and curiosity. In the do phase of my approach, you will take action, immediately doing the helping in all the ways that you possibly can, building trust, competence, and the depth of connections. Because the most magic in our relationships happens when we truly see and are seen by the people we're connecting with. Recent research reveals that people with a robust social network of confidants have better job performance, feel more fulfilled, and even live longer. But my parents didn't need a peer-reviewed study to tell them that. They understood the art of connecting. Indeed, my parents were the epitome of connection, the original social media influencers, growing their following with each clipping sent, each scoop of slightly spiked punch — we had no budget for cocktails — and each thank you card written, all while remaining completely authentic in the process. They tended to their network like a garden, watering, freshening the soil, pruning old leaves, taking care. Their effort reaped tremendous depth, so unlike our current follow-back culture that has divided us in an ever-growing list of ways. Today, I use our exploding communication tools to bring people together from different sectors in ways that were never possible before, and without any of the antagonism or competition that makes networking feel like a dirty word. Instead, I nurture and bring people together rather than pitting them against one another to see who wins the Twitter showdown. Whether it's a former boss on the West Coast, a best friend from my hometown, or the high school student I met at a friend's child's graduation wanting to know more about my business, they're all part of that same constellation. This approach for seeing, making space for, and acting on our potential connections has allowed me to fuse my life and my work without burnout, overwhelm, or anxiety. This book will tell you how I've done that, give you the tools to use the art of connecting, and create the constellation of people you need to bring your life's work to fruition. Part 1. Gather. Focus. How do you create the conditions for relationships to flourish in your office, whether it's physical or virtual, and among potential partners? Refocus the goals of traditional networking by prioritizing what's in front of you, who you know, your current skills, and existing contacts. Do not underestimate the power of connections unrelated to your business plan. Reach out to your current network and zoom in on the challenges they face. How can you help or support? By doing so, you will make yourself an invaluable asset, a trusted resource for others that will far outlast the gains from a quick LinkedIn follow. In this section, you will learn how to gather the stars of your constellation by first examining your relationship with yourself and clarifying your goals. Then you will learn several tips and strategies to begin to expand your network of connections in ways that feel natural and inspiring, and don't zap your energy. 1. Help, I don't know anyone. We've all been there, a networking event, the first day at a new job, or even just a big meeting. We walk into the room and panic sets in. I don't know these people. It even happens to extroverts like me. Growing up with parents who were serial connectors, long before that was an expression, I just assumed everyone was like them. Boy, was I wrong. A lot of people think about connecting, but few act on it, especially today. There are even more ways to connect, but there are exactly as many ways to disconnect. I have found that in all cases, people fail to maintain the right mindset about connecting. No matter the location, the specifics of the meeting, or who is there, people are full of excuses not to connect. Here's an excuse I hear all the time. I can't move forward with my career goals because I don't know the right people. This is far from the case. Every single person you know, regardless of their experience or background, can help you in some way. With a simple mindset reboot, you can drastically improve your ability to build business relationships. The philosopher William James said, "If you can change your mind, you can change your life." And in this chapter, my goal is to change your mind about networking. Don't discount the possibilities in your current network. Start there, and you will reap enormous rewards from what is right in front of you. Connect with yourself. First and foremost, connect with yourself. Are you an extrovert who loves gatherings and people and derives energy from others? Or are you someone who prefers intimate gatherings and getting together less frequently? Knowing this about yourself is key to implementing the art of connecting in a sustainable way. When you stay intentional, you make the biggest impact, connecting and communicating with people without burnout or fatigue. Esther Perel is a renowned psychotherapist and the best-selling author of Mating in Captivity. On her podcast, How's Work?, Perel examines how the skill of navigating relationships isn't something that differs much between the home and the office. Perel says that the narratives people develop from their childhood and family of origin, even though most people aren't entirely aware of this, can spill over into their careers. How we handle conflict, how we communicate, the way we develop trust, these are all skills that we tend to develop as children and can't really escape when we walk into work. So it's worth asking yourself, how are meaningful relationships built into your past, in your family? Simply taking a look at that and being open to the idea that our work self and personal self might be the same can teach you a lot about your relationship skills or deficits and what you might need to focus on to build, to deepen those relationships in your work life. It might seem like connecting with yourself is something you do after work, but doing so in a business setting is essential. Other expert connectors and relationship builders I spoke to agreed. Jamia Wilson is a vice president, executive editor at Penguin Random House. She also recommends that before reaching out to make connections, we become reacquainted with ourselves. Wilson pointed out to me that sometimes we are so focused on getting things done, striving for goals and deliverables, all while managing the bills and the mortgage, that we forget who we are. And when we're not deeply connected to who we are and what we stand for, we can lose sight of the best path for our connections. She told me, when I make efforts to be gentle and compassionate enough to get to know myself, all of it, good, bad, and perfectly imperfect, then I can be an open person to listen and hear and connect with others. She added that this frees her from feeling confined by what society needs her to do, and she can be more open to others. As an example of this, she pointed out that nature and the animal kingdom are brilliant at staying connected to their intention, their why of being. A lion doesn't forget that he's king of the jungle because he's burned out. But as human beings, sometimes we veer off course and need to come back to ourselves. She also points out that it's absolutely okay to have interactions that feel awkward. We can learn from each of those interactions and do better the next time. Instead of thinking, oh, maybe that rubbed that person the wrong way, or I'm not sure if I fit in with this group, it's more helpful to think, what did that interaction teach me about myself? What can I create from that? When you remind yourself who you really are and what you really want, you're far better set up to connect with those who will align with your goals. And you will be far less likely to fail in business relationships because you've resorted to what is often called spray and pray, where you just spew your messages out into the ether and hope someone grabs onto what you're saying. Be intentional. Know who you are and know what you want, and you will attract those who can help you. Start with who you know. Oftentimes in networking, we get pigeonholed into reaching out to specific people. But in reality, someone who is already in your immediate network might be able to introduce you to the correct person. One of the most powerful changes you can make right away to improve your business relationships is to change your mindset. Your existing network is your biggest asset. Use it. Sure, you might not have a direct contact to the bigwig investor you'd like to pitch to. But someone in your immediate...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?